Oh, all got up. Oh, just ran to the restroom. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
We'll give him a second to come back.
We don't need one.
All right. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the regular city commission meeting for the city of Winter Springs of Monday, November 10th, 2025. Christian, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Kevin McCann.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Cade Resnick.
Present.
Commissioner Paul Diaz.
Present.
Commissioner Victoria Bruce.
Present.
Commissioner Sarah Baker.
Present.
Commissioner Mark Caruso.
Here.
City Manager Kevin Sweet.
Present.
City Attorney Anthony A. Garganese.
Here.
Great. And if we could all stand, we have our friend will lead us in an invocation to be followed by the pledge. Good evening.
Let us pray. Most holy Lord, gracious God and heavenly Father, as we are mere weeks from the beginning of another Advent season, we are reminded of your words through the prophet Isaiah, promising our forefathers concerning the incarnation of your Son. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end, on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and righteousness from this time forth and forevermore. The zeal of Yahweh of hosts will do this. Tonight I thank you for the reign of your Son and for the promise of his government that is bringing complete shalom. And I ask for us, your servants, that you would grant us the grace to reflect his rule in every position of authority that you grant to us, whether it is over our own persons, as mothers and fathers, grandmothers and grandfathers, teachers, employers, law enforcement officers, leaders in our communities, and elected officials at every level of society. Make us instruments of peace and not chaos or discord, for our good and for the good of all peoples, beginning with the city of Winter Springs. I ask particularly tonight that you would bless Mayor McCann, Deputy Mayor Resnick, Commissioners Baker, Bruce, Caruso, Diaz, City Clerk Gowan, City Manager Sweet, City Attorney Garganese, and their families for their dedication and service to our city. Likewise, be pleased to bless our law enforcement and emergency services personnel who never cease to put their lives on the line so that the citizens of Winter Springs might enjoy theirs. I ask these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, and by your Spirit's power. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Stewart. Are there any agenda changes?
I would like to make one.
Okay.
Item 400, I know it's on here for us to talk about ballot language. I'd like us to pull that, actually, and I know I was the one who asked us to put it on as quickly as possible. I have had quite a few conversations with Tallahassee, and they've asked us to pull it, that we can converse with them and discuss with them in more detail. So I'd like us to pull that item.
Okay, so don't you want to discuss it at all?
No.
Is there objection to that?
No.
No? Okay, we will remove item 400 from discussion. And, okay, any others? Any other agenda changes? Okay, seeing none, we will adopt the agenda as written, other than the removal of item 400. That then brings us straight to awards and presentations. Presentation from Raf Tellis on the update to our utility study. I did take a moment and look at the 2023 version. It sounds like it's mostly good news Sir, if you introduce yourself, thanks.
Good evening, Joe Williams from Reftelis. Back to give you an update regarding the utility rate study, water wastewater system. A couple years ago, we did finish a rate study and you all took action to adopt some fairly significant rate adjustments, working towards funding of your new wastewater plants, along with catching up on a lot of other improvements needed in the utility. You adopted 5 years of rates. The first 3 years of those rates have gone into effect. And we just wanted to give you an update on how things are progressing, what the future is looking like from the information we have now. And giving updates was something we had talked about at the time of doing this rate study. So we're here now. We've been working on this with staff for a little while. You know, we started early, we're waiting for the audits to get finished. So now that you're pretty much caught up, we felt good about the financial position and bringing this information forward again to share. So brief agenda, we are going to touch a little bit on history, what happened, what's still to come on what was adopted for rate adjustments, and then go into the capital plan and the revenue forecast going forward. So recent history, again, you adopted a 5-year rate plan that extends through fiscal year 2028. And that was funding $166 million of capital projects. $112 million of that was for the wastewater plants. You probably know that number for the wastewater plants has been increasing. There's been a lot of pressure on costs, especially for wastewater throughout the industry. You're not the only ones facing that pressure. Right now, amongst other things, other considerations, the plan's happening a little bit later. We're not seeing any changes needed to the 5-year rate plan that you adopted. We're mostly going to be focusing on, is there something to come after that 5 years to kind of fill in any gaps that materialize at the end? And we're addressing just all the ongoing operating costs, all the other capital projects that are identified and necessary to keep the utility fully operational, bring it back up to health. So first is the operating expense forecast. We compared the 3 years that were overlapping and remaining from the 2023 study to this study. You can see that on the operating cost side, there have been some increases as well. And again, this short term, this is not a major impact. This is something that can be managed within the rate plan that you have. Again, the plants have been delayed a little bit, so there's some cash flow, there's some room. And you all did take action with ARPA funds to do a revenue replacement transfer into the utility. So the utility has very strong cash reserves at this point. And that's helping us fund the capital plan and keep the system going, along with the significant revenue increases that we've generated. We did compare pretty much line item to line item in the budget. Repair and maintenance line items that go into your operating budget were the largest increases. So that's just ongoing water system improvements, lift station improvements, line improvements to keep the systems operating good. And again, when we started in 2023, there wasn't rate adjustments for many years. So a lot of that R&R ongoing activity was getting deferred. So now that there's the cash flow, it's not too surprising to see those line items start taking more precedence. Adopted rate adjustments. So fiscal year 2026, that's the rate adjustments that just went into effect about a month ago, October 1. And now you have 2 more rate adjustments that, again, have been adopted. Typical bill impacts are shown. These will be subsequent Octobers each year. So the most significant adjustments technically are in the past at this point. Key assumptions, 2026 operating budget. Now, this is very similar to what we did last time. We take the operating budget and we work with staff and we forecast it. We take the capital plan, any known funding sources. We know that the wastewater plants are largely going to be funded from SRF loans, which I believe is on your agenda tonight, the first one for consideration. So we've worked with staff to understand their discussions with FDEP on how the progression of those loans is going to look. We've tried to model it more closely aligned with how that plan is transpiring now versus information we had before. So it'll be a little bit more of a stair step over time as opposed to a one big loan coming in at the end. And again, we're addressing the larger, higher costs of the wastewater plants. Capital funding plan. You know, this shouldn't be too much of a surprise, seeing the $196 million or so. But this is the plan, and these are really, we've kind of categorized the projects into the main components. So water supply and treatment, water transmission. You can see the wastewater plant replacements there. Really, they're new plants, but replacing the capacity that's already there, essentially, and so on. So the funding plan for the plants, we do have some additional ARPA funds being used for design currently. We have the design loan from SRF, and this is going to be the thing that probably changes the most over time. So as the design of the plans is finished, usually what comes with that is a spending plan, how the construction is going to occur pretty much monthly and from start of the project to the end of the project. And once that information is more readily available, we'll be able to figure out what the loan, how you're going to be able to borrow money from the state to pay for those projects. So typically they have a $20 million cap for each project that you're doing per year. So really that spending curve is going to be pretty important over time on whether SRF is going to be the ultimate solution or if you're going to have to supplement SRF with additional loans from a revenue bond or a bank loan. There's different options available. SRF is the best, it's the lowest cost. So staff is really pursuing that. We're going to try to leverage that SRF loan as much as possible. But that's, again, something we're keeping an eye on. We are planning to bring another update before fiscal year 2028 with updated information. So probably another year or two to give another update like this on, okay, the design is done, the plant is, the first plant is under construction. Here's how it's materializing, funding plan updated, all those things. The new loans. Again, here, the purpose is on total proposed, so you can see that there's a stair-step effect happening as those loans, each one is kind of $20 million, and then it gets closed out, new loan is issued. That's what we understand as the program with SRF at this point. So stair-stepping up. We do have on a chart, we show you revenue forecast compared to operating expenses, debt service, all the different revenue requirements. And one item to note is in 2031, 2032, there starts to be a little bit more interaction with your existing loans that you have. There's a Series 2000 revenue bond and a Series 2020 revenue bond. And right around 2031, let me check my notes here. The Series 2020, so the final payment on the Series 2020 is in 2030. Let me reset that. The Series 2000 bonds, very old, their final payment is in 2030. And in the following year, the Series 2020 loan that you have has sort of a balloon payment. It's like wrapped around so that the concept is that you have a same debt payment for as long as possible. So 2031 is really kind of the pinch point that we're managing at this point because you have your maximum SRF debt service and you still have your final year of ongoing debt payments from your existing loans. And then 2032, your existing loans, about $1.9 million per year right now, are done. So you have a little bit of relief right after 2031. So that single year is like, on the current forecast, the pinch point. So that's what we're working on managing, make sure you meet debt service coverage, meet the cash flow requirements and everything in that year, realizing that there's a little bit of relief right after. So that's really kind of where we're focused at this point, is making sure we're managing that situation as well as possible. and just to point out, part of it is we don't want to have elevated rate adjustments if we can avoid it, just for the purpose of meeting a cash flow in that 1 year. And then all of a sudden, beyond that, we're generating excess cash flows. So that's part of what we're just going to keep an eye on. Again, the timing of the SRF loans as we have them planned now could still change a little to be more favorable, potentially. We're going to be watching it. Preview, 2029, 2030, you can see our estimated, we're kind of using them as placeholders in our forecast right now. About 5% per year for it would be a typical customer bill impact beyond what you have already adopted. So it's starting to come down much more in line with inflationary, so a little bit above inflation, but it's not in the 10% range. So it's hopefully going to be lower. Again, we're watching, not asking for any action at the moment. Revenue forecast. So here we have the bars building up. It's dark blue or black on the bottom there is your operating expenses. The green in the middle is the debt service, and the yellow at the top is some other expenses that are in the utility and some transfers. So the green, you can see that's really the debt service from those new loans for the plants. That's really where the pressure is coming. And the red line at the top is where we have our revenue forecast from a combination of the adopted rates and the estimated future rates for 29 and 30. And part of this is we need to have a gap there. One is if you just took the red line from where it is now in 2026 and you put it straight across, if there was no rate adjustments, you can see that you'd run in real hard into the side of the revenue requirements. You wouldn't have enough revenue to fund your program. So we're ramping it up over time. That was part of the whole phasing, 5-year phasing plan. And we need to keep a gap there also because we need to keep generating cash to be used for other capital projects in the utility. And a demonstration of that is going to be on the next slide where we have a gap, so we're generating additional revenues over these ongoing requirements. But then to fund the remainder of the $196 million capital plan that is not coming from the loans, we're using cash. So we're generating cash, we're using it on projects. You can see that starting out with the transfer of ARPA funds, accumulated revenues over the past several years where you've had some rate increases. We have $35 million or so in cash in the utility reserve account, and we're planning on largely spending that down over the next 5 years on a lot of these major projects. Some of the funding is going towards the wastewater plants, the meter replacement plan, all the other projects. There's lift station improvements, there's water line improvements, there's all these things in your capital plan. We're using a combination of, there are some grant funds as well. There's some grants, a lot of utility cash, and loans are the primary funding sources. And for a comparison, my colors got messed up here a little bit, but you can see that the order holds. So you're still within range of a lot of other communities. There's others that have adopted multi-year plans, and there's several kind of in the middle there, Sanford, Castleberry, and Orlando, that are undergoing rate studies right now in various stages. So you're not out of line with your neighbors. And some findings and conclusions. Really, it's repeating what I said, so I won't go through all of them right now. But basically, want you to keep an eye on it. You know, there's still a lot of things that are transpiring. The timing of the plans, the ultimate cost and design of those. So that's going to influence the funding plan. And we're not asking for any action right now. We think the rate path that you're on is very good. And so that, happy to take any questions.
Great. Questions? Commissioner Crusoe.
Just to be clear, so the residents hear it, the total cost of the wastewater plants are?
estimated at $158 million.
So they're not 100 million, they're 158 million. Okay.
And so then, just to clarify, all of the things that we have passed back in 2023, and those rate increases are sufficient, it's kind of a yes or a no, are sufficient to cover our costs currently from your observations. And this is the rate study, you were involved in this in 2023, you've done other municipalities. We appear in your eyes to be on track to succeed doing all of the work that we're trying to do.
Yes.
Thank you. Other funds that I guess there's a couple things to point out. One, if you can go back to comparing here where you have comparisons, it is very important that Sanford, Castleberry, Orlando are in the middle of doing a kind of a rate study like we did in 2023, and we absolutely I anticipate, speaking with leaders from those communities, that they're going to see the same significant rate increases. So although we might be in that top third right now, I suspect that by next year, we're going to be right smack in the middle of that group. There is also something like Iron Bridge they have significant infrastructure, and they serve Oviedo, Maitland, Seminole County, Lake Mary, Castleberry. They have astronomical capital improvement that must be done, and once they're in line, they're going to be coming a couple years behind us, but they're going to have to redo all of their wastewater treatment plants and rebuild and do massive work. Talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars because of the size of those plants that they serve all those other communities. So, those rates are going to go up where we are setting ourselves up for the future, in my opinion. Okay. That's all I've got. Anybody else got anything? No, thank you very much. It's, to me, that's good news. We're on track. We're doing well. We will continue to chase diligently grant money, grant meaning that we don't have to pay it back, or any other low-interest loan money to speed up this process, as long as we can do so without adding any further increases. Those kinds of funds, if we can continue, and we've been working on some of these projects, grant money, for years. I've been to Tallahassee. I met with the Secretary of Department of Environmental Protection. We sat down with all of their directors, and really we've been working on it. We will remain diligent in doing so. But this leadership team that we have with Cleet and Kevin Sweet and others, we have and our partners with really, they really have helped us a great deal. So thanks. I'll move on. All right. Okay, then let's see. I will go straight to public input. And anyone who wishes to speak during public input on any agenda item or subject matter will need to fill out a blue public input form. Individuals will limit their comments to 3 minutes, and representatives of groups or homeowners associations shall limit their comments to 5 minutes, unless otherwise determined by the city commission. I have 2 forms here. The first one I got was from Kathleen Sims. And this is for item 500. Let me just double check. Yep. If Kathleen, if you're here and you'd like to address item 500.
I'm here, but I don't believe you've spoken on the agenda item yet.
So just to be, okay, so just want to make sure. So there will be someone that's allowed to maybe answer questions when we get there, and then maybe do like a little presentation or answer questions. But there will not be public input. If you want to speak to this matter now, or you can speak to it, unless you're the person representing the organization, we'll bring up that one person, but others will not have an opportunity to speak unless they do it now, or there'll be another public input at the end of the meeting, just before we adjourn for the evening. So you can speak now, whether you're in favor or not, or you can speak after we have the conversation.
I'll wait till
Okay.
after they've spoken.
Okay, great.
It's not after they've spoken.
It's at
It'll
the
be at
very
the end of the meeting after we voted and all that. Okay,
We'll have already voted, so if you
Yeah,
have
okay.
something to say, say it now.
yeah.
Did you say, I'm sorry, so did you say after you voted?
Yes, you will not have a chance to speak again until after the vote takes place. Okay.
Good evening, one and all.
You pull that microphone down, thanks.
Sorry.
And we need a
I'm pretty-
name and if you're a resident of the city or not.
My name is Kathleen Sims. I live at 537 Moray Loop. I am a resident of this fine city. First, let me just start and say, if there's any Marines in here, happy birthday. Secondly,
Hoorah.
I'd like to speak in regards to the Wesley Seth Foundation. I am a victim advocate for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. Unfortunately, I respond to many tragic drownings for not only the sheriff's office, but for every agency within this county, and I've been doing it about 20 years. It is such a sad occasion, to meet with a family and discuss, what the plans are when they've lost their child due to a tragic drowning, which can easily be prevented by door alarms. I understand the Wesley Seth Foundation is respectfully asking, they would like to hold an event in Central Winds, which is central to this entire county, which allows all of the agencies to come and attend the event. And so they're asking right now currently for a waiver of the fee at Central Winds. It costs approximately $6 for one door alarm to save a child's life. I respectfully ask that you consider waiving that, or at least finding a way to support this organization so that we can prevent any additional drownings of any children in this county. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Then I have Mr. David Bear. Good evening. I appreciate, I read a letter that you sent to Tallahassee on a number of issues. Thank you for that.
Appreciate it, and you're taking the time to do that. I wanted to speak on what was agenda item 400, which I know has been pulled, but I have a number of thoughts about it. When it was pulled, I heard some people sort of rumbling, so maybe others have thoughts about it too and want to speak at some point. But my thoughts are sort of twofold and two different things. So we have a Tallahassee imposed referendum that's been put up there, been put out there. And to me, I wanted to share that to me, that is procedurally and substantively flawed in a number of ways. I know that's not for your consideration, which is sort of the procedural problem, but nevertheless, it's relevant here. So procedurally, I think it's abhorrent. It obtrudes upon home rule, which is a core conservative value that we all learned for the past 30 years. It seems to have been forgotten by some people who claim to otherwise be conservative. But procedurally, Tallahassee should not be telling us here in Winter Springs, Seminole County, any local jurisdiction, how we organize and run our government. To do so is against everything Ronald Reagan and all of our conservative forebears taught us and that we profess to believe. Substantively, it's fatally flawed in different but also very conservatively based principles. It's fatally flawed because the way that it is written reflects the hubris of politicians. We've all been taught to be humble. However, this ordinance has hubris because written by politicians and want to be politicians, it reflects an idea that somebody elected in what is effectively a popularity of ideas contest has the skills and professionalism to be a city attorney or a city accountant or an architect or in this case particularly a city manager. And no offense to any of you, but you're not professional technicians, you're politicians. And as a politician, you're elected to do a job, which is reflect the values of the people that voted for you, but you're not elected to be an attorney or a city manager. And so this referendum, which Tallahassee wants to impose upon us, provides us extraordinary power in one person, which we're not supposed to strike power in one person unnecessarily, to be a professional, which is a horrible idea. The second topic is the city conceived referendum, which procedurally, I think is also flawed because it's basically a response to this Tallahassee idea. And basically, we shouldn't give in to bullies. And substantively, it's flawed because it creates single-member districts. Now, single-member districts versus jurisdictional-wide representation is not a new idea, and there are some benefits to single-member districts. Orange County has single-member districts. Seminole County does not. Really, by most accounts, the benefits of single-member districts is that it ensures minority representation. And, sorry, my name is David Bear, I live at 921 Tuscaloosa Trail. I'm speaking on behalf of Lake Tuscaloosa Association as well as Save Rural Seminole. However, I will be very quick. So it ensures minority representation. It also accounts for very large jurisdictions to make sure that people functionally have a representative they can talk to. So if you are Orange County, for example, very large county, if you didn't have single member jurisdictions, it would be hard for somebody to have an individual to go to, like a go-to contact. Whereas by them having single member districts, you have more of a local base. Seminole County doesn't quite have that problem. It's a much smaller county. Much smaller than Seminole County is Winter Springs. The benefits that potentially are there for single member districts don't apply to Winter Springs at all. We're a pretty homogeneous community. Not aware of some pocket of minority, population that we want to make sure has representation here in that regard. And we're not so big that you guys all can't respond to everybody. However, on the flip side, there are tons of negatives to single member districts, which is basically politicians respond to incentives. Incentives matter, right? And so what do politicians respond to? They respond to their voters and prospective voters. And it is just natural, we all have flaws, right? It's just natural for a politician to respond to their voters and prospective voters. And so if I am in Cage jurisdiction and I have an issue, he's the only one that is incentivized to care about that issue. It doesn't make any sense for me to call Victoria because why would she care about it? You're a good person, and so I'm sure, but the incentives and structures are not there. So single member districts are fatally flawed in that way. Sometimes they're counterbalanced by the benefits, but those benefits don't apply to us. And so I don't think it makes any sense at all to have single member districts here. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. Appreciate it. The microphone is open. Okay. Yeah. Evening.
Leah Weissman, and I am a resident. You don't have to give that address thing out, and I keep wanting to do it. Almost. Just a few comments on some of the activities we do in the city. I know, since I don't have kids, because you don't want to dance with my dogs, so I know it's not me. But a lot of people I've been hearing say, what happened to the mother-son? Why can't we do it too? And or just have it so that it's both ways, parent-child, whatever you want to call it, something cute. Because there was interest, put it that way. And the sons are probably going, well, you're not partying tonight. Anyway, the other one was, I saw that you rewrote the Arbor Day tree giveaway stuff. It says public land, which means when I was given 2 trees over the years, it shouldn't be in my yard. That's my understanding. And they left that in. So I thought they were going to take public land out so that you can do the giveaway. And the other suggestion I had for that is for homeowners who are taking down trees, or hurricanes take down trees, or they're trying to prevent them from taking their house out, why not let them replace it with a smaller tree form and then say, see, I planted, I replaced. Because if you know how much it costs to get rid of some big trees, I don't know how much you're charging, but it's over $1,000, so I wouldn't have any money left at that time. So I think just replacing a tree that maybe not as big, I have big trees because I left the ones from the forest up, but anything I plant, I always plant much smaller. Just a suggestion might make it easier, and I'm glad it will go all to trees, not to anything else.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to take this first opportunity? Good evening.
Linda Freeburn. I'm a resident. Mr. Bear? I totally agree. I wish that you were discussing item 400 tonight. If you've had discussions, if Kate has had discussions with people in Tallahassee, there's no reason why we shouldn't get some kind of report on it. And this is something that's really important, and maybe there should be a workshop. After we first learned about it a couple weeks ago, I mean, I was thinking about it, and Winter Springs is not that big. I'm not even sure we need districts. The problems that people on the east side have are more than likely the same problems that the people on the west side have, or we're small enough to care. Winter Springs is at its widest 7 miles and no more than 3 miles from north to south. It's not that big. We can probably get away without districts. Doesn't really matter, but I think it's something that you should discuss more and more openly. On the consent agenda tonight, on a different topic, 301 and 304 are probably things that need to be discussed openly as well. An extension of 14 months for a development that's been sitting there doesn't look real great. Maybe 4 months. 4 months, get your financing in order, and let's get going and clean this up. I want to just mention one other thing. The 7-Eleven in Tuscaloosa looks awful. It looks awful. I feel terrible for the people that live across the street from it. These are expensive homes. I doubt Winter Park would let this fester like this. So something should be done about that.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to take this first opportunity? Mr. Gallo.
Good evening, all. Art Gallo, 199 Yandina Terrace. I agree with the speakers before me on the pulled item 400. I find it odd that we're going through this whole thing because we're being directed by Tallahassee to do it. Then all of a sudden, someone from Tallahassee calls and says, hey, wait a minute on this, so we got to pull it. I'm sure you all find that odd too. I don't know what the story is, but I sure don't like what's happening, and you all know my feelings on this thing. The other thing that I find wrong is if eventually we don't have a mayor that the residents can vote for, I never liked the fact of a commission deciding who the mayor is for that year or that month or that week. So, and I would like to be given the opportunity to comment on some referendum, and I'm sure everyone in this room and everybody listening would also like to comment on the charter referendum. So I feel like it's being rushed through, especially from listening to the conversation from the last meeting. But then all of a sudden we pull it, so it can't be that rushed. So if that's the case, then I would like an opportunity for the public to read what is going to be presented on a referendum before it gets formally pushed up the chain. It's a bad position that we've been put in. Don't like it. I've filed my complaints, and I have an appointment I'm waiting for to go visit with Representative Placon to find out what's on her mind. I have no expectations to change anybody's mind, but damn it, I think we're owed an explanation of what's going on. Why is she or the SCLD spending so much personal capital on this? I just don't get it, and I don't like it. So that's my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo. Anyone else? Okay, then we'll close public input at this point. We'll move forward to the consent agenda. And is there?
Make a request for 301, just a discussion.
Sure. We'll dive right into it. Yeah.
I looked through this, and the one thing that's on here that does concern me, second page where it says 14 more months for the project. Tara Lynn, this might just be a direct question for you. I know on the bottom here it says, due to unforeseen circumstances, we now, I'm paraphrasing, we now have the financing secured. Do we have verification of this, that they have the financing in place to go vertical? Or is it
Carolyn
just a
Roll,
verbal confirmation?
Director of Community Development. We do not have confirmation. We do not usually request or confirm a project's financing. You've had other projects come before you asking for an extension.
Right. So this reminds me a lot of where the Perkins is sitting right now. That project took, and you can go back in the records, but I think it's two times, and the third time they finally got the financing in place, and the third time was when we said we needed verification. So my only request to all of us here is to perhaps say, okay, pending, we know for a fact that this is happening, so there's no more extensions.
If I may speak, Commissioner, the development agreement related to this project will need to be amended to accommodate the extension language. And if the commission wishes to include that the applicant provides some kind of verification of the funding, you can do that and have that incorporated into the development agreement. I don't know if they're allowed to do that, Anthony. But we don't typically ask for that.
I know, this reminds me, and it just sat there and sat there and sat there. It's not good. It's been unsightly.
I mean, just looking on the face of the document that was submitted, they're just requesting a 14-month extension. All they say is due to unforeseen circumstances with regard to construction financing, they had a delay in vertical construction. I mean, there's no backup documentation supporting that claim, but that's what they're representing to the commission. I mean,
And they're,
the commission, I mean, it's a simple request for an extension. I mean, the commission, under the agreement, can grant an extension, but there's no, unless they're here to explain, I can't explain the financing issue.
Mr. Michael Halal with MTH Development is here if you have questions for him.
Sure, you're willing to step up?
And I don't want to make this a whole long thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's just, Mayor, I mean, just as a matter of point of order, I guess, it's a consent item. I mean, if there's going to be a drawn-out discussion about this, why don't we move this item to the regular, and then the commission can dispense with the consent agenda, the remaining portions of it?
Separate it quickly and just do that? I mean, that was my only question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would like to make one point, in that, look, we've already cleared the trees and things, the property is sitting there. We certainly don't want to end up with something like the I-4 eyesore, right, that's half-built and sitting there vacant for decades. I don't believe that what we're talking about here, maybe we can just make sure that once that financing is secure,
That's all on
that
that,
we're
exactly.
going to be there, that we're good enough, that it's going to be built, and that, that it's not
That's
going to.
exactly right.
Just a
All I'm
clarification
asking
point.
is for clarification, yeah.
Yeah. So would, you want to ask the one question? I'm looking for some direction, or would you want to split this off real quick? You want to,
Can I ask him just the one question?
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Mr. Halal, can you
Yeah.
quickly confirm?
They just need your name for the record and the name of the business.
Michael Hillel, and it's Legacy at Lake Telmo.
Thanks.
Yes, we do have confirmation. I just didn't submit it to Ms. Roll because I wasn't asked for it. But I have it here if you'd like to see it.
I don't need, if we have it, it's on the record.
Well, he does, no, would you do us a favor? Can you just forward that to our city clerk?
Absolutely.
And then he can send that out to us.
Sure. I just
Cindy,
didn't want it
do
to
you
be
write down
published in
your
this.
email address and slip it to the gentleman so he can just disperse that to us?
I'll get it from him.
Okay,
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay.
that's it?
Yep. Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
That easy?
Nope.
All right.
And that's exactly what I was trying not to have, was years of just sitting there with that.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's easy.
we agree fully.
Yeah. Exactly.
Can imagine.
Your
I'll-
success is our success. right?
Likewise, yes.
Yeah.
I'll get everything over to Mr. Cowan tomorrow, if that works.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
All right.
Sounds
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for your concern, Commissioner, Deputy Mayor.
That was my only question under consent.
Anything else on the consent agenda? No?
Seeing none,
Okay.
No, sir.
I'll make a
Then-
motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
With-
Okay, the motion's made by the deputy mayor and seconded by Commissioner Baker. Christian?
Commissioner Bruce,
Aye.
Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Caruso,
Aye.
Commissioner Diaz.
Great. Then, let's see, that then brings us to item 401, first reading of ordinance 2025-16, amending allowable expenditures of tree bank funds.
Make a motion to read by title only.
Right, motion to read by title only, is that by voice vote? Is that acceptable?
Aye.
No objection?
Okay. This is first reading of ordinance number 2025-16, ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Winter Springs, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Springs, Section 5.9, regarding the expenditure of monies collected in the city's tree bank, providing for the repeal of prior inconsistent ordinances, resolutions, incorporation into the code severability, and an effective date. Commission had a previous discussion regarding the use of tree bank funds. There was some discussion about Oviedo's policy. These changes are relatively straightforward. The tree bank, once money is collected for tree removal, it gets deposited in the tree bank. The proposed changes would limit the expenditure of tree bank funds to planting and maintaining desirable trees on public lands. Desirable trees is a defined term already in the tree ordinance, or for meeting the Tree City USA standards as published by the Arbor Day Foundation. And then there was some discussion about not using tree bank monies for the purchase of equipment. There's additional language that says tree bank money shall not be used to purchase equipment. So it's up for your consideration on first reading.
Discussion. Oh, Commissioner?
Yes. Just for clarification, would removal of trees still be a item that it could be expended on?
Well, it's planting and maintenance, so we'll let.
Would that
Here comes
entail
Brian. See.
removal?
Good evening, Brian Dunnigan, Director of Administrative Services and Operations. So, Commissioner, to answer your question, Tree City USA standards, there's 3 standards, which is the establishment of a tree board or department or staff, which we're in compliance of, public tree care ordinances, which are currently in the city code, and an annual expenditure of $2 per capita per year on a list of approved functions. Those functions include the planting and initial care of trees, tree removal, utility line clearance, which thankfully we don't have to deal with because we're not an electric utility, tree maintenance, management, volunteer hours, which are calculated at the average rate. They give you credit for that on meeting the $2 per capita per year. And the last one would be other related expenses. So those are the 6 core functions that are outlined in standard number 3 within Tree City USA standards as published by the Arbor Day Foundation.
So, in other words, is that a yes or a no?
Yes.
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 So, okay. And so the Tree USA also will allow our Arbor Day Tree Fund to be utilized for private lands, and that's in that.
Yes, so public outreach would be one of those, planting and initial care. That includes both the planting on public and private land as well. And private obviously would be through the mechanism of the tree, Arbor Day tree program that we're doing and have been doing for this past several years.
Thank you for that clarification.
Other discussion?
Public input.
Seeing none? Okay, and I know this might be confusing to you folks a little bit, but it's a legal thing. There are items called public hearing, but we're actually changing an ordinance for a final, kind of making some final decision. We then allow for public input, but because it's codified as a city ordinance, we have to allow people to speak. When we're talking about pool safety and children and that safety, that is not an ordinance that we're making a final decision on, so there won't be there. But now, anyone that wants to speak about the use of our, in the trees, okay, yes, and this item 4.1, yes, Leah?
real short. Leah Weissman. The only thing I would say is, it's not like I don't want anyone to get a tree, but it says public in it. So if you're editing it already, you might as well get rid of the word public, land. Then you won't have any people like me that go, huh? That makes no sense. Thank you.
Lawyers write these agreements up, and and with the, specifically. Yeah, and public land or meeting Tree USA standards. Yeah, so it kind of, but I know lawyer speak. Anyone else that would like to speak on this specific item? All right, seeing none, we'll close public input and I'd ask for a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve item 401.
Motion made by the Deputy Mayor, a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Bruce. Christian?
Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Caruso,
No.
Commissioner Diaz,
No.
Commissioner Bruce.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Okay, that then brings us to the regular agenda. And so we'll go straight to item 500 and the consideration of a fee waiver for the Wesley Seth Foundation event. And this was added to the agenda. Was that by the request of a commissioner? Anybody in particular that wants to address it?
Not me.
No, it was added at their request.
That was, okay. So,
No, but Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
if I may, it was not by request of a commissioner, but I would like to say that it's nice to see that their cook-off is coming to Winter Springs, coming home to Winter Springs, instead of being in Oviedo as it was last year. So hopefully we can go ahead and really bring that home. This is a home-based nonprofit, and it's a very important topic, and obviously it's already been spoken about, but we'll let them talk to us about the waiver.
okay, is there an individual that you'd like to make the presentation?
She's just going to work the clicker for me.
Oh, yeah, that's great. If you just, yeah, thanks. And if you just state your name.
Yes.
And if you are a resident of the city of Winter Springs.
My name is Libby Beatty. I am a resident of the Winter Springs, and I'm here representing the Wesley Seth Foundation. Our mission is to educate individuals and communities about water safety practices and provide resources for swim lessons, life-saving skills, and water safety equipment. As of today, we've purchased 6,500 door and window alarms for Seminole County and the cities within to distribute to their residents free of cost. This includes the city of Winter Springs. We've purchased 10 pool alarms and 1 pool fence. And at the time that we did this presentation, we had awarded 12 scholarships for swim lessons, but as of today, we are up to 19. That's fully funding to people that are unable to pay for their swim lessons. So we pay for their swim lessons for 3 months so that they get to learn how to do the basic turn to float on their back and to be able to wait, for someone to find them so that they're not, past drowning, basically. I started the Wesley Seth Foundation 7 months after losing my grandson to drowning at his in-home daycare in 2023. Wesley was my only grandchild at the time, and the pain that my daughter and my son-in-law felt, as well as our entire family, was enormous. He was a child so full of love and laughter, the true light of my life, and you think this can never happen to you, but it can. Sorry. After losing Wesley, I needed to channel our grief somewhere. I needed to do this in a manner that not only honored him, but it also helped other families never to have to go through the pain that my family was going through and still goes through today. So we decided to start the foundation and put on fundraisers to raise money to supply not only equipment to the community, but also education of what can be done in order to lessen the chances of what happens to others. Water safety extends beyond seasonal concerns and includes all bodies of water, not just backyard pools. By implementing proper education, supervision, and precautions, we can significantly decrease preventable water-related tragedies. Safety in the water is not a matter of choice. It's a responsibility that demands our attention and commitment. The Wesley Seth Foundation is dedicated to raising funds for education and safety items that go directly to the communities that we serve at no cost. We have partnered with Seminole County and the cities within it, Florida Department of Children and Family, and the City of Oviedo and the City of Lake Mary on several different events that they have put on. We are members of the Florida Family Drowning Prevention Coalition. We have participated in news conferences and interviews with both the City of Oviedo and the Florida Department of Children and Family. We have participated and are continuing to schedule several events for the county and the cities within to raise awareness in water safety. We do 2 fundraisers. We do an annual golf tournament and the annual barbecue cook-off and festival, as well as several spirit nights throughout the community. Our annual golf tournament is called Tee Off for Water Safety. It is held at Twin Rivers Golf Club in Oviedo and has been super successful. We raised over $40,000 in the last 2 years with that. We are planning our 2nd annual Sizzle and Splash Barbecue Cook-Off and Festival fundraiser here in Winter Springs, because we believe that the city embodies the spirit of unity, generosity, and care for its neighbors. The fundraiser will go directly towards furthering education on water safety. Every dollar we raise makes a tangible difference for the people that we serve. So it'll be a sanctioned barbecue cook-off. Last year we had 50 barbecue teams, 68 judges. Our event qualified for the national competition. We also had a kids zone, craft business, food and community vendors, and live performances. However, as a nonprofit organization, every expense matters. Permits and facility fees, while necessary in many contexts, present a significant challenge for us. Waiving those fees would allow us to put more of our resources directly into servicing the community instead of covering our overhead costs. For example, the $2,000 fee would purchase 300 door and window alarms for the community. What's most important is that this event isn't just about raising funds, it's about bringing the community together. We expect the barbecue competition, we expect families, volunteers, and local businesses. The event will again have a sanctioned barbecue competition, live music, kids activities, community, craft, business, and food vendors, all aimed at strengthening the connection and building pride in Winter Springs. By waiving these fees, the City of Winter Springs wouldn't just be supporting one event. You'd be investing in the lives of your residents and helping ensure that this fundraiser is as impactful as possible. It would show that our city leaders stand with us in lifting up those in need and creating opportunities for hope and progress. Not only are we supporting you, the City of Winter Springs, with drowning prevention tools for your residents free of cost, now you can support the Wesley Seth Foundation and help us do that. On behalf of the Wesley Seth Foundation, I respectfully ask that you waive the associated fees for our fundraiser for the property at Central Winds Park. Together, we can make this event not only possible, but truly meaningful for Winter Springs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there any
Thank you very much. Why don't I maybe I'll just start this off. I want to make sure that as we discuss this, to begin with, sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
I do acknowledge, it's my understanding that for the citizens of the state of Florida under the age of 6, this is the #1 killer
That is correct.
children in the state of Florida under the age of 6. It's devastating. We're going to have a discussion. This does not take away from the impact and the importance of your project and the work that you do and the lives that you save. But it's a legal body, so we have legal challenges to now discuss. It has nothing to do with the importance of the work that you do. We have to find a way to legally do we have a way of legally doing this? Do we get around the things that are done? All of the historical things. So that's where the conversation's going. Again, I just want to stress, it has nothing to do with the importance of, or whether or not anyone on this dais agrees or disagrees with the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
So, having said that, where we are now is trying to find a way. Now, look, we know that groups come to us all the time. And you can take a seat if you want, or we can call
I
you
just
back
didn't-
up, or you want, but we're gonna, I guess what I want to lead off with here is just some historical background. Recently, we had the sheriff's office wanted to use our parks for prayer breakfast. We had a lively debate, and we said, wait a minute. And then we regularly have different churches and different nonprofits ask all the time. We've tried to negotiate kind of, well, how about if we help a service, trash service, or, we'll provide some of the police or security and some other things like that. But we have historically never done it because we're then stuck in a position of, okay, how do we allow this nonprofit and then turn down that one? And then we're getting accused of taking it for, doing it for one church, but not another religion.
Well, I would
or
understand that, but you
well,
have to.
It's not a discussion,
Okay.
actually.
Sorry.
Again, that's why I said you might want to sit down if you want. We're going to have a discussion, but it won't be in the question and answer thing. We're not at this stage.
Okay.
We're really stuck. We have a resident in the back that was commenting that we were donating to a business incubator with UCF. And so we've struck all of that, and I think the comment was, if you want to donate to an organization, then we should be doing it independently, not as a body. A conversation has come up about, should we be donating to Rescue Outreach Mission, the only homeless shelter in Seminole County, and that has not really gone anywhere. There are endless examples of where should the city residents be donating their money, and that effectively is what we're talking about. And then if we decide to do so, how do we legally go around doing it? With that, Commissioner Baker.
After Ms. Sims spoke, something kind of that she brought up, whether if it was waiving the fee or just supporting them in some manner in another way to kind of make up for not, if we can't waive the fee. I loved your ideas of like providing police and trash and other things that we could possibly do. One thing I don't, because I've not ever reserved anything other than the pickleball courts, and I know the pickleball courts have a resident rate and a non-resident rate. Do our other facilities have a resident rate and a non-resident rate?
Yeah, I think we'll have Brian answer questions. Yeah.
Good evening, Brian Dunnigan. Again, for the record, I'll get to the answers. Short answer first. Yes, they do. So the fee that the foundation is requesting is the Winter Springs resident rate for a full day rental of Central Winds Park,
Okay.
which is $2,000.
And then would it be something that we could potentially look into if we don't want to get in the business of waiving for one group and not waiving for all of the other groups? What about putting together a nonprofit rate that is something that we could do? Is that a potential solution or, something that we might be able to do for everyone to make it kind of a?
So here's a problem. So for example, we are like a founding member, premier member, the Chamber of Commerce is named after us.
Mm-hmm.
And we are members there, but they still pay for the music festival next week. They're still paying the fee. So, and the Tuscola Homeowners Association does a big open thing where we rent Trotwood Park, and kids and bounce houses and face paintings and food and all that. They still pay the rate, and those are also residents, and they do food banks and they do scholarships and they do lots of other things for the community. But they're still all nonprofits. Do we say we start getting into nonprofit political groups and stuff? What qualifies as a nonprofit would probably be the hard thing. How do you qualify that? That's the problem.
I mean, do we say no to any of these groups if they want to rent it for full price? So,
No,
I
they
mean,
all pay.
Yeah,
They-
so,
they
I
pay
mean, I think
resident
it would just
rate or
be
non-resident.
if they're a legal entity that's nonprofit, maybe a 10% discount, just throw in a number, yeah. Just to, because if we're not saying no to anyone for actually renting our facilities, that's not up for us to decide on if it's political or if it's what the charity actually is. So I don't know, just a thought I had.
Yeah, I'm with you.
yeah.
I mean, how do we get around? I mean, there are some amazing, like this. This is probably one of the single best organizations to come before us.
Right.
This is a really important, this is probably the best one that I've heard.
Yeah, but
How
again,
do we get around it, is the question. This is by far the best. The sheriff is an amazing guy, but this one, quite
it
frankly.
hits close
is
to home.
Yeah, right. So how do we get there? You know, how do we,
I put my button on.
oh, sorry, I didn't. Oh, there you
You
go.
got a bunch of
Deputy
people.
Mayor?
No, Mark's first.
Well, Mark?
So Brian, is there a deadline for the fee to be paid for that event?
Typically, for this type of fee, we would want to have the payment in hand 30 days ahead of time.
Okay, so they have until April?
Mid-April.
Okay.
Yeah, best practice, just because, that does take planning on behalf of the city to accommodate an event of this size.
Right, okay, so, ma'am, myself, along with some of my colleagues here, I know, some of us are involved with, organizations and, we have people that, like to help out the community, and Ms. Sims has my information, and if you could just reach out to me, I might have maybe some help for you. No promises, but I know a few people that maybe can help out.
Okay. I appreciate it.
I think
Yeah.
it's something we all feel pretty
Yeah,
passionate
we want
about.
to help. There's no question we want to help. There's no question. I mean,
Send-
I can
send us all an
immediately,
email.
I can
Yeah.
immediately think of several ways that, probably just
Yeah,
like
send us all
Commissioner
an
Crusoe
email, and if
immediately
somebody has
hits me.
something.
But let's, okay, yeah. What was that?
No, I'm just saying, just send everybody an email.
Yeah.
And then if anybody wants to help or knows someone that can help, I'm sure they'll
Yeah.
get with you.
Deputy Mayor.
Sure. Echoing what was just said there, to everybody up here, I understand, regardless of the organization, they all have value, right? They all have a purpose, they all have a need. Coming up here to us in the last few years, THOA, Chamber of Commerce asked for a waiver. Winter Springs High School, Keith, Indian Trails, all schools, their PTAs asked for waivers, their different groups asked for waivers. Running for Heroes was up here, there was the Blue event, there was the Sheriff's event, Rescue Outreach was up here, Scottish Highland Games have come up here. The problem is, regardless of how the door gets opened, you can't close it. And I understand the lady in front of me is probably looking at me going, I don't like you right now. So I accept that. As somebody who sits on many boards and begs people for money, I've learned my lesson, don't beg people who have doors closed because they have a reason they can't open them, right? Unfortunately, the way I see it is, that's my analogy is you can't close that door once it opens. So I'll even offer some money, I'll offer some time to your organization, I'll offer, to be at the event. But that's just one of those things, is where my 2 cents lies. I think it's a great organization, absolutely a great value. I didn't use you, I used some other people, but both of my kids went through swim training and they swim a lot now, so I understand exactly what she's saying.
I have an autistic son that escaped a few times, so
Yep.
I very
Yep.
much understand.
Yep, I've dealt with families
Need door
who-
alarms.
Yes,
Please.
we got them and put
Okay.
Yeah.
GPS
No, and
trackers on them.
I've dealt with families directly who've had drownings. So I know the value of this. I just also am afraid of what the unintended consequences of a yes would look like.
Commissioner Diaz.
Yeah, and it's, commentary is interesting, and I do appreciate, the positions of my colleagues. A lot of times, and I'm just absolutely tickled that you guys have found, fiscal restraint. This will come in handy next year. But you know what? Sometimes fiscal responsibility also means recognizing
that value isn't necessarily measured in dollars. Goodwill, participation, pride in an event that is homegrown internal to our city. And I appreciate a lot of the names that were thrown around as organizations that may have at one time requested something or another, and many of them probably should have been given waivers as well in many cases. Others, not so much, because some of these you're talking about organizations that have six-figure salaries for their executives. This is something that is homegrown out of tragedy in Winter Springs as far as an organization is concerned. This is one of our own. This is one of our neighbors. It's a very different situation. And on top of that, this is already, there's proof of concept, where in other situations where you have somebody just kind of coming and asking for money, there's proof of concept here. They had an extremely successful event last year in Oviedo, and it brought people to the venue, which was at the time the Oviedo Mall, and clearly this organization has been able to show that their event could grow to such a point that they would have to be at a place like Central Winds. And I would really truly think that this is probably one of those few times where we have an opportunity to say we're going to build community, build goodwill, and do it internally, in-house. Because remember, this is an organization, so I mean, if we want to put dollars and cents to it, that has given us money. Because a tangible good that had to be fundraised and dealt with was an actual product that has come to our city, to the benefit of our police department, as well as obviously Seminole County wide, and we are the largest footprint, regardless of how small. We now have decided to say that Winter Springs is. We are the largest footprint city in Seminole County. So keep in mind, it's very important to support organizations that are ours, in-house, internal, with everything happening here in Winter Springs. This is one of them, and I highly suggest my colleagues actually support the motion.
Again, I think it comes down to, nobody's saying it's not. We all agree it is. How do we then handle the future in every other organization that comes along? Now, look, I'd like to maybe repeat and copy Commissioner Caruso. I'm interested in helping. I'm interested in, I immediately came up 2 or 3 different ideas of how I personally can help you. And some of it can be financial, some of it can be offset things that can help you promote it and get it out there. I've got ties to the community too.
I will take all of those.
Yeah, so,
Yeah,
right?
We're going to be
Where do
reaching
I-
out. Who wants to be in the dunk tank? Because I'm signing you up for that.
Yeah, seriously. And hold
can't
this
replace
to
the
it,
chief.
right? And just say,
can't
okay, you
replace the
said
chief.
it on the record, it's been televised, what can you do? Deputy Mayor.
As part of Rotary, why don't you come out to Rotary and we'll ask.
She
what
has.
went there.
I have been to Rotary.
Yeah,
I didn't.
we'll ask point blank right there and to say, hey, who can donate right then and there? And we'll find
I
different ways.
did.
Oh.
And nobody,
No, sir.
right, okay. So, and I'll ask at the chamber, and ask all the chamber businesses. We have a meeting tomorrow.
Helping me get sponsorship, helping you get
Yep.
other things, I can immediately, and promotion and.
And
other
all
things.
of that is great,
But it's not.
But it's still,
but the fee waiver is even greater. See what I'm saying? So yeah, the help that you give purchases more swim lessons, alarms, whatever's needed. But think about that $2,000 and the 300 alarms that I can purchase, or the 6
Yeah.
kids that I can sponsor
Yeah.
for swim lessons.
I think the way I'm looking at it is I'm willing to help you raise those funds to pay for the
That's-
$2,000 waiver.
yeah,
I'm ready
that's-
to
I'm
give
thinking-
my
That's right. I
check.
think that's what we're
So-
all
to
saying.
cover that, our goal is to try
think
to
that's what
find
we're all
some
saying.
unique way of doing it where we don't have every church, every every baseball team, the high schools come to us, the elementary schools
Well, I
come to
think
us.
that Diaz
everybody's
had a
looking
good
for
example, though, is
subsidized
I've been giving to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do all those, and I don't know the other, to say they're
Sure.
not giving to
Yeah.
you, but I
Elementary
do
schools?
give.
Yeah.
I 4 or 5 of the scholarships were Winter Springs residents alone. I provided 500 door alarms to Miss Sims personally to hand out. I've been giving to all of Seminole County, and actually have even tiptoed into Volusia County because they don't have anybody And I'd rather not see a kid drown than to not give, so.
If you weren't doing the amazing work you're doing, you never would have been on the agenda. It got you here.
I understand.
You know, and now I think you're seeing some commitment to, you know, people have to, now we have to step up. Now we have to do it. But Commissioner Bruce.
Thank you. I really liked your suggestion, Commissioner Baker, regarding a discount for non-for-profits, maybe only non-for-profits that are actually located within Winter Springs could be a rule, and maybe we give a percentage of a discount. And then that way it's not, you know, every single organization would have to come to us for approval. It's written into our schedule, and non-for-profits that are located within the city, on SunBiz, you know, has to be registered, could receive some kind of discount. And then that way, this is a moot point. We don't have to discuss it, you know, every time.
That's it. We just need consistency. Whatever we do, it has to be consistent. We can't go one group and then a different group and then one group. Whatever we do, it has to be, so it holds up in court, holds up everywhere else. It has to be consistent at this level. We have to treat everyone the same. Commissioner Diaz.
And I agree, and I think in the spirit of consistency, and it sounds like if we have, you know, some consensus here that there might, you know, we can do a discount moving forward. And the exact language of it, obviously, I'm open to it as well, and I really like what Commissioner Baker brought up. Because this is the kind of the founding organization of this idea that now we have, where we want to extend, you know, kind of this, you know, the generosity of the city to organizations, namely not-for-profits that are within the city of Winter Springs, specifically Winter Springs address, you know, the whole 9 yards. I mean, we're going to go full boat on that. I would suggest that then, in this particular instance, let's go ahead and, because the idea came up here, let's have a 100% discount for Wesley Seth Foundation, and then move forward with a 50% discount across the board moving forward for nonprofits that are here in Winter Springs.
Is that a motion?
I move that we go ahead and approve a 100% discount in this instance, and a 50% discount moving forward for nonprofits within the city of Winter Springs.
Is there a second to that? There's not.
I'd like to amend that motion, if possible, to have a 50% discount for this organization and all others.
Second.
You mean Winter Springs?
Winter Springs,
That's correct,
nonprofits,
sorry.
yes.
Yes, what is that?
I accept the
Yes.
friendly amendment. Second.
Okay, so the motion is made by Commissioner Bruce and seconded by Commissioner Diaz. So then for discussion, I would strongly suggest that we get real serious legal advice on this, because saying nonprofit and define that is very vague. And I'm concerned about that.
The policy will have to come back and be amended. I mean, the city has a fee policy, so that would be brought back to you. I understand there's an immediate need to address this situation, but many cities do provide some sort of discount for nonprofits based on certain criteria. So we can certainly give that some thought and bring that back. One criteria I've seen is whether or not the nonprofit organization can provide a public purpose in-kind contribution to something tangible to the community. For example, you know, the city, for public purpose, clearly has a public purpose for children's safety with respect to pools, right? So to the extent this charitable organization wants to provide that in-kind tangible contribution, like committing to providing pool safety alarms, I mean, there's a public purpose that could technically be supported for that in-kind tangible contribution in exchange for a waiver of the fee. So if that waiver gets applied to meeting that public purpose, that kind of meets the test. Further, to explore what the consequences are of an incident involving a potential child drowning, the cost to respond to that incident will far exceed the $2,000 waiver. So there's a possibility to grant a waiver, in my humble opinion, without the commission making any appropriation of funds based on an in-kind contribution that's tangible to support a public purpose. So if you give the direction to amend the policy, those are the thoughts that are going to go into drafting such a waiver.
So would it be basically, if we waived the entire fee, basically 300 alarms would be donated to, say, the police department or something along those lines?
The in-kind contribution, like any public purpose and
Yeah.
expenditure of funds, you have to demonstrate that that expenditure and ultimately satisfies the public purpose. So I don't know whether that's donation or whether it's just verification
That
that
they're providing the service.
they're providing that service to Winter Springs residents as an in-kind contribution in exchange for the waiver. And how that would all be verified, I mean,
We're getting
that's,
somewhere. Well, no,
that's, you know.
No,
something
what
we
I'm
could
seeing
talk
is
about.
we may be getting somewhere, and that it takes, so if, for example, this is hypothetical, if they can confirm and showed us the addresses in Winter Springs of the pool alarms that they provided or installed, or the addresses of those, you don't have to give us the names of kids but an address, what are the residents where you've done work, there's a dollar amount assigned to each one of those alarms or something like that, then, that's a way of offsetting those costs. Is that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a way to put some filter on the
Nonprofits.
avoidance of having every nonprofit who has the worthy goals, right, coming to the city asking for blanket waiver fees, right? So why would the city even entertain such a thought unless there was some benefit to the community? And my point is tangible, concrete benefits. When an organization is trying to hold a fundraising event to actually buy children's safety equipment to be applied to residents in Winter Springs, to the extent the commission deems that's a public purpose, I legally, I think the commission can waive that fee in exchange for that commitment to provide that safety equipment.
Two things before we move to the deputy mayor, too. And one is that I would say there should be a cap on that, because the Central Winds, say, whatever, there should be a dollar cap. Central Winds is far more expensive than, using Trotwood Park or Casa or somewhere, just a gazebo, those kinds of things. I'd say set a cap on it. But then what's to stop, which will happen in, say, 3 months from now, will be the next group that comes in and asks, that we don't waive okay, so we've worked out a discount schedule. What's going to stop us from yet again being asked to waive the fee again and overriding it yet again? That's going to be a whole.
Yeah, well, that's when you're going to go down this route and establish that type of policy. You got to be prepared to deal with other nonprofits coming to the city seeking waivers, right? So I'm suggesting that if you're going to go down that route, you better put some stipulations, some nice criteria, so you can make those decisions fairly and across the board.
Deputy Mayor.
So as we take a look at this, I was looking really fast to see how many churches we have, which are all nonprofits in Winter Springs, how many schools we have, because each of them have come to us in the past, and each of them will be given the opportunity. And if we put a tangible benefit, we're educating kids. If we say a concrete tangible benefit, we'll give something in return for it, open that slippery slope, and that's the conversation. Scottish Highland Games, which comes to us, they are a nonprofit. We're saying, well,
But
as
not
long
in
as
Winter Springs, right?
we're saying that if it's in Winter Springs, they can open up a division within Winter Springs, and now they're eligible, right? So if we want to go down a 50% area, part of being up here is to also look at all the other unintended consequences. And, it's great that we want to spend money now. We just asked a company that was providing us a tangible benefit, being the incubator, to leave because we didn't think the tangible benefit was enough. Business tax receipts weren't enough. And now we're saying, well, because it's a nonprofit, it's okay. They were a nonprofit as well. So there's lots of slippery slopes that people are wanting to go down. I do like this organization. We said we would support the organization. Where's the line, right? And that's what we're moving now, is we're moving the line. With moving the line come others who are going to come with handouts. So we need to be prepared for said conversations in plural. And this is a great organization. We will find many others. That's my just 2 cents as far as this is concerned. And every one of our churches that opens the line up for them, we'll see what happens for that. And you're right. The Chamber's already asked for a waiver for their music festival. In fact, I went back to the board and said no. But now they'll come back to us and say, well, there's a tangible benefit. It's a music concert. So that's another event. That's the Saturday. They can probably come back after this and say.
Wouldn't the tangible benefit be something that they are giving to the community, not entertainment? Like an actual, I think we would have to write what these tangible benefits
I
actually are.
think that's what he
We'd have to
was saying. It
clarify.
has to be a tangible, concrete benefit.
Every church, every school, as the deputy mayor pointed out, qualifies. They're educating our kids. There's a tangible benefit, right?
So
we have to work on this. Again, the goal here is
until
how
April,
do
so
we
we got
find
time.
out, how do we legally get around this and solidify it and make it concrete where we don't just have this every couple months. We go through the same thing. Commissioner Diaz.
Yeah, and, I appreciate all the points that are made. There is a very, very distinct difference between all of the organizations that have been brought up, and I would love to have some of the, conversations about some of the organizations that were brought up, especially just the salaries alone of some of their executives. Yes, Commissioner Resnick, that's exactly what I'm saying. It is very clear that there is a great distinction between what this organization is proposing and the organizations you guys are throwing out just to try to create the fear and resentment of who gets what. Because, for example, churches are in a completely different section of the tax code altogether. Not-for-profit does not mean the same thing because they do not have to file 990s in the same way that other nonprofits do. So there are ways to limit the scope and the situation. And it is very different when we say the chamber, just because they happen to be called Oviedo Winter Springs, I remind you that half of it is Oviedo and that their address is not in Winter Springs.
Actually,
So,
It is,
you know,
it is in Winter Springs.
and the real point is that you're talking about an organization that is making they're in a different category of revenue, and the tangible benefit is a membership situation. So again, when we're talking about the tangible benefit, we're just comparing apples and oranges. This is a completely different, and I think that even the spirit of what Commissioner Baker was saying was, again, these homegrown organizations that are doing something tangibly here, for example, giving our city, instead of having our city have to go out and pay for them, the alarms, the same thing, throughout Seminole County. And again, you're talking about a tangible gain that it's not measured in dollars. Where a chamber, that is measured in dollars, because the reason you join a chamber, other than the fact that the chamber itself is a who's who of the nonprofit world, not commerce, in other words. It's a chamber of commerce, but no one's in there in commerce. Here you're talking about a legitimate, actual charitable organization that is doing something not only in the city, from the city, to and with the city. And all we're proposing now, because the conversation changed a little bit, but what we're proposing is actually having a special carve-out, if you will, for organizations that provide a tangible benefit within the city. And obviously, that's going to come back to the commission. I proposed a 100% discount at this time. We had a friendly amendment for 50%, and we did have a second. And I can appreciate the mayor explaining everything to us, every week. But the reality is, here we have something tangible that is good for the community, Just like when we have a business that is doing something for the community, and what do we want to do? We want to go ahead and give them a great explanation about how much we love you, but hey, you know what? We just don't want to do it for you. You know, come on. You know what, Mr. Mayor? At some point, we just have to get and say that it's time to really support our community and people from within our community who live in our community, because the reality is, Ms. Beatty, who spoke, is a resident of Winter Springs, and, I mean, I can walk to her house from mine. So, you know, the reality is that, you know, we continue to spin and spin and spin, turn this into a half hour or more conversation over something that is good for the community, that is bringing a sanctioned event to the community. And no, the Scottish Highland Games may call themselves nonprofit, but at the end of the day, they're a business. That's what they are. They just happen to have found a loophole to go into the tax code like many others do to get and file a 990 because they do make a profit. What they do is not pay taxes on their profit. That's what that means. So the reality is, you know, there's a very big difference between charities and then the charities that are going like to the county and everywhere else with their tin cup out asking for taxpayer dollars for no reason. This is something that is good for the community, from the community, and within the community, and I'm angry at even the conversation that we're having today. We should be waiving this fee 100% for this organization, because this is exactly what we want in our community. So every time we have somebody come up and tell us how we can't build something because we're losing community, here we have somebody who is from the community, in the community, lives in the community, has a situation of bringing an event back to our community because they had to have it in Oviedo last year because we couldn't have it here. And then we want to say, oh, well, no, you know what? Then now they have to make a business decision and say, well, you know what? How much is it going to cost me here? How much is it going to cost me there? Maybe there's another city that's going to be more generous with their venues. I think right now we should pass this thing at 100% discount, but I've accepted the friendly amendment, which has been moved and seconded, and I would ask that we call the question.
Commissioner Baker.
I was just going to ask if we could, since we do have a little bit of time, if we would consider having Anthony write something that takes Commissioner Diaz's points about which charities are actual charities in our community giving back versus nonprofits that are funded by taxpayer dollars or business fees or membership fees, when they're the actual charity giving in our community, living in our community. Would that be something you could write those stipulations to and come back to us? I mean, because time's not of an essence, super essence right now.
And the flip side is also including the in-kind part. I think it was
Yes.
pretty good. So we're talking
Yes.
about both.
Yeah.
We're talking about
But stipulating what
identifying-
type of nonprofit as well.
I mean, and certainly I can help draft that. I mean, this commission's not alone in addressing this issue. Every city council deals with these charitable organizations and requests.
Yeah.
So I've done policies like this before and certainly can help you in that regard.
Or how about this? I wasn't going to go here, but it crossed my mind before. Or do we write something into the budget whereby each member of this commission gets
That's
$250 a year, and you can pile it all together, and like, it's
Well, Mr. Mayor, I mean, that's kind of, due respect, and some cities
blow a hole in it, that's okay.
deal with that issue, and what we're addressing tonight is a non-appropriation item, right? They're not asking the city to appropriate one single dime, they're asking the city just to waive a fee for what arguably is a public purpose, right? Not even arguably, children's safety, pool safety, tangible in-kind contribution possibility in terms of what they do with the alarms, right? We're dealing with an possible, God forbid, offset of emergency services to even address an incident such as that. So, you know, there's a lot of tangible things here with respect to this request, but this is a non-appropriation item for the city.
Okay.
You're going
Well,
down
I got you.
even
Withdraw.
another
No
slippery
problem.
slope
Yeah.
on appropriations.
Yeah. I'm just trying to set some kind of limit or some kind of, we'll leave it to you. What I'm hearing is there's still a motion that was made and seconded. We'll have to vote on that. But what I'm hearing is a counter thing that we ask you to come back with something in writing, or something where you've seen it maybe work in other communities.
To apply to what their motion is,
Yes.
essentially.
But for the to be, again, because all of this is procedural and it's legal and we're going through it, there has been a motion made and seconded. Would you mind repeating the motion?
Yes.
Unless you want to withdraw it.
It might be amended a bit, but I would like to present a motion for our attorney to write a discount for non-for-profit charities located in the city of Winter Springs as a reduction of fees for our parks and recreational facilities with a tangible item.
Yes. Is there a second to that?
I will second. I'll second that.
Okay, so the motion's made by Commissioner Bruce, seconded by Commissioner Baker. Mr. Caruso, I saw your button pop up just as we
Sorry.
got started. Did you want to make a comment before?
By the rules.
Thank you.
Just want to repeat what I said, but I believe, I'm sure you will get help from everyone up here. And this will set a precedence for the future for other organizations to come in, and it could be dangerous. Just want you to understand that. So I'm pretty sure you're going to be fine.
Yeah. I do sincerely, whether it looks like it or not, you got a group of people here that are human beings that really care. And I think every single one of us has kids. Every single one of us has families. We agree with you. So we're just trying, okay. Motion's made and seconded. Christian?
Does it have a caveat for him to bring us back?
Yes.
Well, she did say.
Well, I think
Yeah,
It was in the
changed to that.
motion.
Right, so the motion changed completely.
Yes.
Deputy
Yes.
Mayor.
Correct.
It doesn't apply the discount at this time,
No, we're at,
or does it? Because the way, so
It's
yeah.
50% discount with the new language. As long
he's
as,
But
gonna
we
bring
have
it.
to
We're
approve
not
the new language.
finalizing-
Right.
We are not finalizing with this
finalizing it until the
organization
language comes back.
specifically. We're asking Anthony to bring us something back so that we can help them.
First motion was seconded.
yes.
Well, then she revised it. Oh.
But yeah,
Okay, so
we want to
Anthony
talk
or Christian, help
procedurally,
us
right?
out. There
So
was
we had a motion and a second
Yes.
to award the 50% discount to this organization and all future nonprofit organizations within the city for city facilities. That was made and seconded. So then that belonged to the commission and no longer belonged to Commissioner Bruce or anybody, right? We never did anything with that motion.
Okay, then I asked if she would restate the motion. And
Right,
she
but-
changed it. So do we
Okay.
technically, legally, we have to vote on the first motion
Well,
before we
technically
move
you
on
should
to the
vote.
second?
You can
Technically, you could
withdraw
vote
it.
on the change
You can,
or withdraw.
you can withdraw it with unanimous consent
Yeah.
and substitute the new motion.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if there's not unanimous consent, then the first motion technically would have to be voted on.
Voted on.
Po- Point of order.
Yep.
If Commissioner Bruce and Baker would agree, I think we can probably find a happy medium between the two, where we still have immediate action today, and then we have the full language coming back. And keep in mind, when we talk about the slippery slope situation, it's still our vote every single time. So we could also still say no in the future when we have these like slippery slope arguments. However, the here and now, when we had the original motion of the 50%, with the language that the city attorney added, and then obviously it has to come back a second round to make, to codify it for the future. But if it's okay with you guys, I mean, if the friendly amendment would be to accept the original motion as well within the current, the hybrid amendment we've got going on.
I have to say, we have to treat everybody the same.
We are.
We have to have something on paper, legal, and follow it. We can't go making all these changes all the time. We're
do all
failing
kinds,
this,
Mayor.
guys. We need to have legal documents. We need to have it set so that when people come along, we say, here it is. This is what we're going to do. We're talking about making major changes because of how emotionally strong this particular group is. I'm okay with that, but we need to treat everybody the same. We can't go changing it for every different group. And so I just encourage you, let's allow the city attorney to
Can I ask
put
for
something in paper.
clarification?
Yes.
I'm just a little confused on, so just help me. So the original one was just to do 50% for nonprofits.
And 50% for this group.
No, and 100% for this.
Well,
Right,
no,
50.
they changed that one,
No,
so it
but
was
no, no, but
50%.
we have to finish that, though.
They never, there was never a second.
It was
There
a
was.
50.
Yes, there was.
No, there wasn't, not for the
Not on the
100.
100. It was
Oh,
50
okay.
and 50, but the 50 was immediate now. The second
Okay.
one is 50 for us to go and evaluate paperwork.
Yes, so the first one was 50% for nonprofits in Winter Springs. That was,
And,
Right,
and 50% for this group now.
yes,
which falls within.
which would fall in Winter Springs nonprofit. The second one, that one never got voted on. The second one is 50% for specific charitable nonprofits that have tangible give back to our community, located in Winter Springs, and write that into a ordinance or however it needs to be dealt with.
One and the same.
One and the same, yeah. So,
Like we're defining then what the,
yeah, so
what the
we're,
organization would be.
so is that, what I'm not understanding is, so what you're asking is just give it to them only?
No.
And then
All.
are all nonprofits until we have something new come back?
Well, we're setting the criteria in place, so either way, we're gonna have to vote on the criteria in the future.
Right.
So if there's any wiggle room in the criteria, we're gonna solidify that with the city attorney, make it legal.
So what happens in the next several weeks when staff is approached by other nonprofits?
Well, we have, I mean, right now, the item for consideration right now is specifically just for Wesley Seth. So it is not even having anything to do with nonprofits. We've gone down
Right, but the
that route.
motion was.
Well, because, I mean, the original motion was to go ahead and approve 500. So, I mean, I'd be more than happy to bring that one back up again. And then we have all the consideration we want in the future for any and all, future organizations. But I remind the body that, when we say slippery slope and people coming back and everybody's going to start coming back, I mean, it should not escape us all that almost every commission meeting, the reason we have a planning and zoning conversation is because they have to come and ask for a waiver. So this is commonplace for us. This is our wheelhouse. At least now we don't have torches and pitchforks over development. This is literally now a conversation about saving lives. And I remind you, you're not waiving an organization's fee to a park. You are literally taking a position on, now that we've moved this motion forward, on not only protecting and preserving life in Winter Springs, but also, supporting an organization that is within Winter Springs that meets those tangible goods to the city. Which is the way the motion was. So we weren't really doing anything. So you're right on the right track. I mean, what you explained is exactly it. Basically, we'd be doing, we're kind of setting this arbitrary 50% moving forward.
Yeah, I think that, I think with the second one, if we can
Hey, guys, let me
unanimously.
interrupt here for a second. I apologize. Procedurally, hold on. We're rehashing the whole thing again. Bottom line, Anthony or Christian, how do you recommend we move forward with two opposing things? And do we just need to kill the one and let's clear the two off the board and we can restate it and start over. We just need a motion. Right now, we have two motions that were made and seconded. How do we move forward and get past this? And then let's clear the deck and then make a motion, but we need to clear the deck. How do we clear this deck and move forward?
I mean, with unanimous consent of the commission, you can clear the deck, right?
Okay.
Of any
Can-
of the motions. Otherwise, the second motion is technically an amendment to the first motion.
Exactly. So I
Which
would
still
ask
gives them 50%.
for your approval to clear the deck and all motions and seconded and ask Commissioner Bruce to restate her motion and the way that she last said it. Is that acceptable to the body?
Yes.
Yes, that's fine.
Is that acceptable, Commissioner?
Yeah, we're restating the same thing.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make, well, we have two different opposing ones. So the deck has been cleared. That's legally acceptable.
With yeah.
With the,
Yeah, with
we have
unanimous
everybody-
consent,
okay.
clear the
So
deck.
now, clear
Try to
deck.
simplify
So
the
starting over. So we don't have two different things that have been voted on and seconded. Commissioner Bruce, if you would restate
Which one?
what
Or
you,
any
the
new
second
amendment.
version, I believe.
A new one.
I propose a motion for consideration for our attorney to come back with a schedule of costs for nonprofits located within the city of Winter Springs of a substantial discount of 50%
With,
Tangible benefit?
with tangible benefits
and focused on charity?
and focused
No,
on
she
charity.
said- Yeah. She did say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I will second it again.
Okay. So the motion was made by Commissioner Bruce and seconded by Commissioner Baker. Christian?
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
No.
Commissioner Caruso.
No.
Commissioner Diaz.
Yes.
Commissioner Bruce.
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes.
Okay. Motion moves forward. Ball's in your court, Anthony. We're making progress. Welcome to government, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, right. Okay, we are in fact neighbors that care. Just sometimes it's, democracies are rough and tumble and, okay,
Point of
moving
order.
on. Yeah,
Since the original agenda item was the waiving of the fee, and, we have incorporated a new item altogether in this motion, I would like to be able to bring back at least the same 50% we're talking about at this time for this organization, since they are kind of our model for how we are tailoring the future one. So I move that we accept the 50% waiver of the fee for the Wesley Seth Foundation.
The remainder, 50%, is that what you mean?
Yeah, the 50%.
so.
Just 50%
well,
or like 100% total?
50. He's saying let's do this now instead of having them wait.
Oh, I see.
Hold on, so now we're going to open up a whole nother, we're going to have this whole conversation again. Okay,
We
so.
already had the conversation, Mr. Mayor. We don't need to mayor explain this anymore. I move that we go ahead and accept the 50% now for the Wesley Seth Foundation.
Okay, discussion before a second, because now we all get a turn again. We asked the city attorney to offer, to looking at giving them the 50%, to look at how we're going to do this with other organizations in the future, to lay it all out. We know that there's not a pressing thing right now. We know that the city attorney is going to be drawing up paperwork to do just that. Just let the city attorney write up the paperwork instead of us going off with each different group and doing one for one today, something for somebody else. Let the city attorney do the work and lay out the guidelines. Is there further discussion?
I mean, I'm not going to change my vote. so.
Okay.
Well, we're not changing the vote.
No, I mean, like, when it comes back,
have until
I'm
May.
still going to give them 50%. Like, I'm still going to vote that way.
Okay, so the motion was made to move forward, offer the 50% today. It was made by Commissioner Diaz. Is there a second? Okay, then the motion fails. We're going to let the city attorney do his work, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. Okay. With that being said, then we will move on. Okay, then, ladies and gentlemen, we're making progress. It's slow. Thanks. Okay. Item 501, and state revolving fund loan application for East Wastewater Facility Replacement Construction.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can provide some information clarification on this. So this is the SRF loan priority list from FDEP. As you know, as you recall, back on August 13th, the city of Winter Springs was identified as the highest ranking application in that priority list for $20 million in a SRF loan. What we're asking for tonight is for the commission to approve a resolution to actually submit the loan application for approval in construction with regards to that 20 million. So it's a procedural item with regards to formalizing, moving that needle on getting that $20 million in SRF loan. Happy to answer any more details if needed.
Great. Is there discussion? Again, procedural. This is, yeah.
I'll make a
thanks.
motion to approve item 501 as presented to us.
Great. Motion is made by the deputy mayor. Is there a second?
I will second.
And seconded by Commissioner Bruce. I know that there's speakers in the back. I know that Commissioner Caruso can hear us, but
Not in the bathroom itself.
We
Pretty
need, we
loud.
need speakers in the
Hey,
back.
Mark, you want to give us a shout? Yeah, right.
He's gonna need to,
Can we take a voice vote from him?
he's gonna need to be counted since.
I
he's-
know, I'm
yeah,
kidding.
since he's
I'm
present,
buying
so.
time. I'm stalling
Okay,
while,
yeah.
I'm just
Keep dancing.
stalling.
Come on back. Mark, where are you?
Yeah. There are so many jokes I could say right now that inappropriate.
City manager, you want to go back to him? Go ahead, Mark, we need you now.
Yeah. And legally,
rush.
we must allow him to vote.
Yeah.
Because he is in attendance, so
All right.
give it a sec.
Take a 10-second break.
We'll be closing in on new business and then reports, ladies and gentlemen, so if you want to get your thoughts together.
All right, where is it?
Yeah, right.
I'll ask a quick question if I may.
Yeah, please.
So
Yeah.
it's, what are we in? We're November, and so this is for 2025. So for 2026, do we wait till November, or can we do it in March, or how does that work? Is it
What
a
do you-
revolving 12 months?
Yes, it's annual, the process starts. The detailed information for submittal was done, and then they actually had it on August 11th, I think it was, where they actually prioritized those funding priorities under that priority list. There's a number of applications that were submitted for consideration. So, yes, and as was presented at the beginning of the meeting, that is our kind of a planned phased approach with the 20 million that's ideally going to be. We are, as I've mentioned, I think, to each of the commissioners, we do have a submittal in as well for the post-Hurricane Milton funding, and we won't know, hopefully we'll know that this month and have a sense on where we stand with that funding. But as of now, that's the plan, is that 20 million on an annualized basis to get us there with some other additional funds.
Okay, and we're backing up. So the motion was made and seconded. Christian, for the approval of item 501, the SRF loan application that's been approved.
Commissioner Caruso.
Item 501.
That's the SRF.
You need my vote?
Approval of the loan.
What was everybody else's?
Nobody-
You're the
you're-
first
you're
one. We're just waiting for you.
We couldn't vote when that.
I was hoping you would say everybody else voted first.
Yeah.
I got to be the first one on this. You know how I feel about this. I guess yes.
Commissioner Diaz.
Aye.
Commissioner Bruce.
Aye.
Commissioner Baker.
Aye.
And Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Aye.
And the motion passes. That brings us to new business.
No, boards and committee.
Oh, I'm sorry, boards and committees. I'm looking at a different version.
So it's because it's about me, so.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. All right, give me 1 second. So, looking for names for Oak Forest, and I got a hold of Kimberly Nieves. She sent in paperwork, right, Christian?
Yes.
So I'd make a motion to approve Kimberly Nieves for the Oak Forest Board.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Christian?
Commissioner Diaz.
Aye.
Commissioner Bruce.
Aye.
Commissioner Baker.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor.
Aye.
And Commissioner Caruso.
All right.
And motion passes.
I have a quick question about the committees. Since our last meeting, we agreed to form a charter review committee. Where do we stand on the process of that? Anybody know?
I don't know that we've made movement on it. I think, it was kind of brought up, and I think we decided instead of a 6-month quick thing, that we're going to do a deep dive, like 18 months, and do it right. There are short versions and there are long versions, and I think we talked about waiting until after the holidays and January, and then we're going to really dive in deep and do a deep dive, as I recall the conversation. Is that?
Well, picking
Will we
board
need-
members, picking members.
Yeah, but we'll need like some criteria of who to start looking for, right? Like-
Yeah, I think it was laid out in the last agenda pack. We can resend it.
Okay.
But essentially, the districting guidelines was similar to what was proposed for the actual Charter Review Commission, where each commissioner would have a seat, the mayor would have 2 at large, and we'd have a 7-member committee.
Okay.
And start that process
Okay.
that way. I think, Christian, is that accurate?
Well, a
Proposed?
separate ordinance or resolution is going to have to come forming.
Correct.
Committee.
Right.
But it's just,
Typically, the commission would adopt a resolution laying out the process, and then the appointments would
Okay.
follow.
And then would the appointments be in the same district as each commissioner, or can it be at large, or how does that work?
Just the mayors at large?
just the mayor's at
So we-
large.
I think that's the
understand.
way it was done in the
Okay.
past.
Correct.
So you have at
Thank
least
you.
one district
So
representative.
I think that's the takeaway, is if you start thinking about somebody in your district that you'd potentially like to see on there,
Okay.
then we can kind of formalize that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other new business? Or, I'm sorry, or boards and committees, excuse me, we'll finish up on 502.
No, that's our last vacancy for now.
Okay, then we'll close item 502, and we'll go to 503 with new business.
I just have one thing.
Okay.
So, in our area, we had 3 young people commit suicide. One of those people, the coach of his baseball team, reached out and asked if they could fund either a tree or a park bench or something at Central Winds Park where they played baseball.
If they
Okay?
can.
They will fund it. We're not funding it. They just want permission to do it.
Is this for Landon, or?
Yeah. So I also know there was a young lady as well from Winter Springs, but this is specific to the boy. I don't mind us reaching out to the young lady as well, but they were Winter Springs people. So just asking everybody if we could consider it, do it.
Absolutely.
I would like that.
Okay.
The city has a procedure already for that. We have the park benches and the styles and everything else and the vendors and.
Right.
So they just
Like
need
it
to
would-
reach
We
out
we
to
just don't
staff.
have a policy for.
Yeah, actually, the city does have a policy for historic trees, like heritage trees.
Right.
Heirloom trees. So, I mean, I think there's a policy that would
We could pull for this.
support
Okay.
planting those trees, and then it's formally designated for
Plaque or something.
preservation under the designation of heritage tree.
Okay. And
And
everybody's,
now if they wanted to do a bench, then we have another, where it would actually, like I know, like the Tuscola Homeowners Association helped pay for the police canine.
Right.
Max, and so that we had to actually come, before it could actually accept the check, and we had to vote
Yep.
on it.
I just wanted to bring it up
So
here
if it
first
becomes
to
a
make sure.
bench, we'll,
Yeah,
yeah,
so they just need to
absolutely.
reach out to
I
staff.
don't think anybody's gonna
Yeah.
mind.
I just wanted,
Landon's
before they did that, I
family's-
didn't want them to spin their wheels and then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. I'll let them know.
okay.
All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Then we'll move right on to reports.
City manager.
Yes, just one item tonight. I'd like to take the opportunity to congratulate our Utilities Superintendent, Clifton Mullis. Clifton has been recognized by the Florida section of the American Water Works Association to be formally selected as the Public Affairs Council's recipient of the 2025 Industry Advocacy Award. Again, congratulations to Clifton on this prestigious award and recognition, and thank you to him for all of his efforts here locally. I mean, many of you do see Clifton out there at various events and things like that, really promoting water conservation and some of those. A little more detail on it. The award itself from the Public Affairs Council Industry Advocate of the Year Award recognizes an individual that strengthens public relations and awareness of Florida's waters and our water future by advocating, communicating, and/or educating for local and/or statewide issues. So I just wanted to take an opportunity to congratulate and recognize him for that. He'll be receiving that official award early next month at a luncheon of the association, and just want to make sure that we recognize all of his efforts. So that's all I have tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Anthony?
No report.
I have no report. Mayor?
Boy, well, let's see, since our last meeting, we had lots going on. Winter Springs High School football made it into the playoffs. Go Bears, that's always a good one. Certainly, I've attended a couple of football games recently. They were quite lively and really, really challenging. You know, I have today and then last week attended different coalition meetings for homelessness and community service. There is, and with SNAP benefits and other things going on and all of the things there, the demand on food pantries in Seminole County, and frankly, throughout Central Florida, and I'm sure across the nation, is incredible. Yeah, I would just encourage anyone, if you have the time, the energy, the financial ability to hit a Walmart, buy a case of green beans or any canned goods and stop by and drop them off at, I believe, the food bank that serves Keith Elementary and Indian Trails is located inside of Keith Elementary. Drop it off. There are people that are hurting and they are suffering, and it's these are our neighbors. It used to be, as I heard today, that you used to go into a certain neighborhood and you would know, oh, this neighborhood, these are the people that are struggling. It's no longer like that. It's now, you drive through Tuscaloosa even, and there you never know one household to the next who doesn't know where the next meal is coming from. It's staggering. The last year, Seminole County Schools identified over 3,600 homeless children. And if that was last year, what's going on now?
And those are just the ones attending school.
Those are those that are attending. Those are the ones that you can get it out of them. There is an incredible need, and just keep them not only in your thoughts and prayers, but if you're at the grocery store and you can spare that extra, you see a flat of green beans or you see something there, pick it up, drop it off at Keith Elementary, drop it off at really the Sharing Center. Hope Helps is a phenomenal organization right at the end of Winter Springs Boulevard. They do incredible work. So keep it in mind. And right. With that, I'm finished.
Commissioner Diaz.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor, fellow commissioners, members, obviously, of the Winter Springs community. Tonight, I wanted to take a moment to recognize and honor a man who represented the very best of Winter Springs, Rotarian Butch Lorenz. Butch is, as he's affectionately known by his friends and fellow Rotarians and neighbors. Dwayne Lorenz was more than just a familiar face in our community. He was literally an institution in our city for many decades. He served, as obviously citizen Rotarian, unwavering commitment, good humor, and heart for service long before most of us took our seats in this dais and even were alive. He already had perfect attendance at Rotary, and he was always quietly building that sense of community, and obviously something that defines Winter Springs today. I mentioned the perfect attendance because that's something that was so notable because of over 50 years of perfect attendance at Rotary. But more than that, he literally had perfect attendance in life. He showed up for people every week, every event, every cause that mattered. Butch was there. He was always early. He was always smiling. He was always ready with a joke, and somehow made even a long day much shorter and the world just feel a lot lighter. He definitely lived the Rotary motto, which is service above self, not as a slogan, but as a way of life. And through Rotary, Butch helped fund many scholarships for our local students, and more to come on that topic, and you'll hear me mention that moving forward. But he also supported many community projects here in Winter Springs, and he always offered a steady hand to new members, not only to the city, but also to the Rotary community. Basically always helping others learn, how to give back and what that really means. So to those of us that were lucky enough to know him, we saw a man who believed in people, in their goodness, in their potential, in the power of kindness. And as the president of the Rotary Club of Winter Springs, and on behalf of the club as well, and as someone who deeply, had a good, solid, admiration for Butch, I want to publicly thank the Lorenz family for sharing him with us. And obviously his laughter, his loyalty, his legacy, it's going to remain as part of our city's story. And, a reminder that the measure of a life is not in what we have, but in how we faithfully serve others. Thank you.
Commissioner Bruce.
Tomorrow is Veterans Day, and I hope to see you all there tomorrow from 6 to 7 p.m. over in our Memorial Hall that just got newly painted. In addition, I'm so happy that so many of us went to the pickleball event on Saturday to greet our new sponsor, Advent Health. That was a wonderful event and great to welcome them to our community. There will be a low-impact living webinar luncheon this Friday that I'd like to invite all of you to, if possible. We'll be talking about native planning and stormwater and water conservation and all the different types where you can be sustainable on your own for low-impact living. In addition, I'm so excited to see today that Chief Tract is hosting an event on November 22nd at the Adventure Cycling at 10:30 a.m. I hope that we all are able to attend and bring our children to be able to educate them on safety first and protocol for EV bikes. In addition, as far as development, new and old are coming in and coming out. It looks like Perkins has turned a page, and there's a new restaurant coming in called the Dough Show, which I thought was donuts. Then I thought it was pizza, and then I realized it's Middle Eastern. So that will be exciting. I also see a new pediatrics in the Winter Springs Town Center, but I am concerned that I think Fork and Barrel, not sure if they're closed for maintenance for the past 3 weeks, if they're coming back or not. So that's something to see. And that's my report.
Commissioner Baker.
So I have a few things that happened since our last meeting. We, Winter Springs hosted our this month's CalNO meeting, and we were able to get a presentation from Brian on the master plan of our Central Winds Park and our wish list of things that we're doing there. And then Chief Track also presented, and everybody seemed pretty impressed with it. He also made a lot of jokes about me.
You're an easy mark.
I am an easy. And he presented on the software that he's using that pulls data from different mapping devices on our phones or GPS on our cars or whatnot to help with understanding where speeders are or where the heaviest traffic is. And so he can more successfully distribute his team to the appropriate places. So I thought that was a really good thing. Everybody seemed to really enjoy this month, and they were all very, very active, and they also had a lot to say about our referendum stuff going on. So it was a very interesting meeting. I also was asked by the Women's League of Voters to attend a government day at South Seminole Academy. And so I sat with a lot of girls in middle school-ish age, I guess, and we just talked about government. And the table that I sat on focused on government and economy, and the tables rotated with like a dozen girls for each of 3 different rounds, and they came to our table for 15 minutes and asked us so many questions about how government plays a role in the economy. So it was very interesting, and the girls were all very, very engaged, and it was a cool opportunity. And then Seminole County Public Schools Ambassador Program was also last week. It was at Lyman High this past time. Cade's son saw me but didn't say hello. And
He would have said hello to Mark.
no, he said I ignored him.
you won't say hello to Mark.
But we focused on all of their career options that they have available at that high school. And so we got to tour like their woodworking and their plumbing and their steel and their welding and plumbing and HVAC and culinary arts and just 3D printing. I mean, they had so many things that were so cool that I had no clue were options. And they even told me about some of their online options because my son is homeschooled but is considering kind of transitioning back in. So I asked a lot of questions about a hybrid model or after-school activities that he might be able to get involved in with these career path things that they have. The Citizens Police Academy last week was, Captain Heath taught us about the Operations Bureau, and Sergeant Sims was very excited to tell us all about accreditation. So very passionate about it, and she was a wealth of knowledge. This week, because of Veterans Day tomorrow, we have it on Thursday, and I'm super excited again because I think we get to shoot tasers, right?
Really?
They're not letting us actually get tased, but I'm going to ask.
Volunteer. Hey, volunteer, let him be tribute.
No. I can give you a trial run if you want.
Okay, cool.
I will tell you, I've been tased, and there's a video of it out there.
Yeah.
And it was brutal. I'd never do that again.
We go, we're getting sprayed.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It ends
Me
when,
too.
but as I learned, it ends when the electricity is turned off. So unlike pepper spray that lasts
You gotta
forever.
remember that.
Riding the lightning.
So that is all I have for now. Thank you.
Thanks, sorry if we kept interrupting. It was entertaining.
It was a very entertaining week.
Deputy Mayor.
All right. And from what you were saying, Mayor, just to extend that, we talk about the students a little bit. So Seminole County, even here, we have 50% of the students on free and reduced lunch, which means their parents qualify for just a little above, at or above poverty line. And, our schools here are not immune to that. So here in our own community, I know on my side of town, there's a lot of conversations about the homeless on my side of town. So as we get into the cold season, any food, any help, anything we can put into the places that collect food. You talk about Hope Helps, but Families in Need programs, there's a facility in every school, Families in Need. So it doesn't matter if it's elementary, middle, or high school, if you take them cans, you take them things, they will have somewhere in those schools to create backpacks for students that take them home on the weekends.
Yeah, I actually, if you don't mind, I asked because I got a message from the school board letting us know that they were looking for these donations, and I asked if there were any specific items that that they would really need, and I just was emailed a list today. So if anybody wants that, you can reach out to me. I can give it to Christian and
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I got a great list from them.
A lot of it's canned foods, especially if canned foods that you can pop open as opposed to can openers, because some of them don't have can openers.
Yep.
So, simple things like that. Looking at staff, I don't know if Cleet's here, but Cleet, I just want to thank you and your team. I know you've taken on a lot of big projects. I've talked up here several times about ponds and getting our stormwater ponds back, getting all the work back. And I don't know if it's you going out or your team going out, but I'm getting a lot of good feedback. I know I had one this weekend that you and I communicated about, but City Manager and Cleet, your team's working really well to get those things back to where they were. I know we're nowhere near close to being back there, but there's a good feedback I'm getting from the community, so thank you. Veterans Day tomorrow, I'll see everybody there. To all the veterans, thank you. Pickleball, this past weekend, it was good to be out there, see Advent, talk to the people that are involved in it. Orlando Squeeze was out there, several of us were out there, so it was a good reminder of what quality we have in our parks and our work here. This weekend, the Central Winds Park Music Festival. So hopefully we can get as many people out from the community out there listening to music, enjoying it, being part of the celebration. I actually will not be there this weekend because it is my daughter's birthday, and I will be involved in a sleepover. So I get to do the cooking, I get to do the cleaning, I get to do the, stay away from the girl situation. But so as the music festival is happening, she turns 12, and this is her last official sleepover birthday that I've told her she can have, because I am done after this.
It's going to be a lot of squealing.
Oh, no, it's been every year since she was 7, and this is I'm like, exactly, the squealing last year? And
Yeah,
like,
it's a lot.
Hey, that's your story. I'm staying away from your story. And I'm done.
Commissioner Caruso.
Okay. So lately, I've been visiting a lot of homes in Parkstone, specifically about water. A lot of complaints about people's water bills and, possible leaks and things like that. And one of the things I find is that their irrigation systems are not being monitored. They don't know how many days they're watering. They don't know how many hours or minutes they're watering. And I find a lot of them, well, several of them that I've seen are going 7 days a week, sometimes 30 minutes a day, each zone, and they're wondering why their water bill is $300 a month or $350. So anyone listening, just pay attention to your irrigation because it's probably 50% or better of your water bill, and get it checked out and do whatever you can do to save water because we need water right now. It's very important. So pay attention to the water. That's it.
That's it? Okay, well then we'll go right to final public input. I think we have four residents left. Yeah.
Can we just keep a microphone in Leah's hand from now on?
I just realized she walked.
Yeah.
Leah Weissman, just a suggestion. Not all organizations that have tax exempt are service organizations. And you can also use the qualification of how many paid staff you have, because I asked, they have ZIP. So all the money goes directly into somebody's home. It doesn't go through their hands at all. So I thought that might be one of the qualifications is they have to have some service to the community. Tangible, most of the tax-free are not going to give anything to the city but a good experience. And I don't think that counts as tangible. Just a thought. And I don't know, even if I'm on the committee, how much does it actually cost the city to have an event at the park? Because if you're getting $2,000 because it costs, you need the police there and it costs you, $500, that's where I think you might want to consider organizations like this, where there is no paid staff, no one's making money. She made a commitment in the memory of her child, basically. I think that's a whole different thing than the Highland Games, which, they make a lot of money in that one. So, anyway, just thought.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Nope. Then we will close public input and be adjourned for the evening.